Now, you won't believe that how easy this one move makes the golf swing, and that is the spiraling motion we see in the downswing. And we see all top players in the world do this because it encourages one, great distance, awesome control, and that real effortless downswing you see all these top tour players make. But this is not something that only tour players can do because of their sheer athleticism. Every golfer on the planet can do this with the right practice structure and drills that I'm going to show you in this video. And one of the drills is going to really give you this massive clicking moment. I can guarantee you have not seen this drill before, and it is absolutely amazing for this spiraling movement. So spiraling movement in the downswing, what is it? It is the sequencing of events in the downswing. So this is something you hear about all the time online, especially from myself, because it's so important. So that's as we're starting the downswing, having the lower body and mid torso go first, having then the chest and the arms stay a little bit patient at the top, and then follow after that lower body and mid torso has started to turn, that spiraling movement going and all the way through the golf ball. So it's a great visual for a great sequencing in the downswing, but it encourages so many good things, which is why all the top tour players do this move. So to understand it, before we get into this drill and great practice routine, let's go into an analysis here of some really good players. You'll see they're very, very good players when you see them. And then we're going to get into all the little areas that this helps with and why these top players prioritize this movement in the downswing so much. So let's dive into the spiraling movement in a downswing with two of the best swingers of the golf club in the world, Tommy Fleetwood on the left, Dustin Johnson on the right, and both do this move extremely well. So let's look at Tommy here. So with Tommy, what we're going to see, the lower body and mid torso starting to turn and unwind. So that's our first movement where that's really initiating that downswing that we're seeing. And then from there, I mean, this all happens in a very short space of time, but what happens after that? The upper body stays passive, but then starts to rotate. So lower body clearly ahead here in the rotational move. We can see Tommy at left arm parallel to the ground. We can see pelvis is pointing out the golf ball. Chest is pointing behind, so more at the camera there. That's the delayed effect of the upper body in the rotation of the downswing. Lower body goes first, upper body goes afterwards, spirals in the downswing. So that's what we're seeing there. But why does it help so much? It helps because, one, you can see what's it doing to the club shaft straight away. It's pitching it behind him. It's shallowing the golf club. So he's shallowing the golf club extremely well here because he's spiraling and starting off that spiral so well. Lower body, mid-torso going. Upper body and arm staying patient. That lets gravity hit that centre of mass of the golf club, shallows it naturally. You can see how well it's also getting his right arm in front of the golf ball. So it's something where a lot of people are trying to independently do drills to get the right arm in front. Not for Tommy. Tommy will do it because of his spiraling movement in the downswing. That lower body spiraling, getting that rotation in there first, puts the upper body into more flexion as that left hip goes back in that first spiraling move, which gets then the right arm in front. So brilliant, brilliant move. And because lower body going first, upper body happening after in that spiraling motion, you can see then how that moves the club on path really, really well. And then, of course, he's one of the best rotators going through the golf ball. That spiral continues to whip through. And then we look at DJ, of course. We all know DJ is extremely good with his rotational capability. So same thing, we're going to see that lower body really start to unwind here and mid-torso. So rib cage and down, spiraling. And upper body is just coming along for the ride. You can see here how well Dustin rotates. Left arm parallel to the ground. Now his lower body is pointing left of the golf ball and his chest is quite close to being square to the ball. Tells you how open he gets. One of that is because his club face is so closed. Has to do it to be able to square it for a ton of shaft lean. So, but you can see, even though different rates of rotation, you can see there's still the same spiraling effect here. Lower body going, and then upper body following, spiraling everything along for the ride. But you can see what's happening to Dustin as well. Right arm naturally getting in front. When the lower body starts its rotation, left hip goes back, upper body goes into flexion, and that right arm moves in front naturally. Of course, shaft shallowing. Shallowing is going to be fairly easy for Dustin with all the shallowing methods he's got, especially with that bow in the left wrist. Very unique move for him. But you can see shaft moving really nicely shallow, and club again moving on perfect path. This is why this is done by so many top players, because it gets all these good movements into your golf swing. So after watching that, you're probably all convinced that this is a move you need to get into the swing. So let's talk about how to get it. So let's start on the different points of the downswing, of things we want to see, and then we'll get into the drills and practice structure. So number one, starting the downswing. Like we said, we want that lower body and mid-torso to turn first, chest and arms to stay passive. That's going to help the club fall on path easier for the straighter shots. It's going to help the club shallow, so to start off that rotational spiraling sequence. So there's two ways to really go about for fields to do this and to think about. One is leaving the hands and arms up at the top of your swing whilst you move into the downswing. So a lot of players will do this, or they'll even have, as they're completing their backswing, they'll be still going up with their hand, but their lower body starts to go. So this is all really the same point, this one. So hands and arms staying up, lower body and mid-torso going will nicely create that move, or feeling like it's happening a little bit earlier in that transitional sequencing as the hands going up, lower body going. So that's all really the same one bit, because the second bit for that is for players who maybe struggle a little bit with an overactive chest. That feel that I just showed you there wouldn't really be enough for them to get that good spiraling starting off on the right point there. So this is for golfers who are like, would rotate the chest too early, swing over the top, for example. For them, what you'd want to do is make sure that the upper body is staying extremely passive in transition. So those golfers rotate the lower body really well, their just upper body goes along with it. So feeling like here, where your buttons would be on your golf polo, pointing at a camera or someone behind you for as long as you can in that transitional sequence. So that's going to quiet this down, and it's going to quiet the arms down transition to let that spiral start to happen. So I'm going to feel like I'm pointing the chest at you for as long as I can, and that's really going to help starting off that spiral on a nice sequencing if I'm a golfer who struggles with those slices, pull shots over the top. So the second part here, this is more mid downswing. Let's keep the spiraling going, because a lot of players can nail that first bit, hands and arms staying up or chest staying passive whilst lower body goes, and then they'll lose the spiral, because a lot of players will start to do this, lifting up the left side of the pelvis, having that hip bump, or really try to overly sway and shift into that lead side. So you can see as soon as I do that, the stick that's through my belt loop starts to raise, starts to lift, and that immediately gets me tilting back with my upper body. So that will completely stop this spiraling movement. And this will then just dump the club path way on the inside, and then I'd have to throw the hands going through the shot, because I won't be able to continue any sort of rotation. So that's where we want to keep the lead side of the pelvis down. Now, when we're at the top of our swing, we should be in a really good tilt, lead side lower than the trail side. So your left lower than your right. We want that to maintain as we go down the downswing. Left side stays down and turns. That's going to continue the spiraling going through that mid downswing. As soon as we lift that left side up, the spiral gets lost, the club dumps under too much. So keeping the left side going down and around keeps the tilt, and that keeps you spiraling and rotating through. And you can see it's also a really good one. Anyway, for getting this movement and seeing what's happening, this is a bit what we're going to talk about a little bit later on with one of the drills too. Now the third part here, going through the golf ball. So you could be starting off this spiraling really well. You could be then maintaining it going into that with that good tilt going mid downswing. But then if you don't move properly going through the golf ball, again, you're just going to lose all that spiral. You're going to stop rotating. You're just going to fire the hands through the golf shot. So it's how you're moving through the golf ball. So this is where we want to continue that spiraling going through the shot. We want this left leg to snap as we're really coming from shaft parallel through the golf ball. Impact zone, this is called. So left leg snap, that gets the left hip going back, rotates it. And also that's going to help the right side drop down onto the golf ball. So left side extension will lead to right side flexion. So that's going to help you, as you can see, turn. That's all I'm doing. Left side snapping, right side going down is turning through the shot. So then putting it all together, you're going to get that nice spiraling move going through the shot there. We're not absolutely going to think of all those things one bit. We're going to make it so much simpler than that. It's important to understand what's happening though. But for what I see with a lot of golfers, before we get into the practice structure and drills, is we'll see them, one, staying way too much left leg flexion. They'll stay with that left leg completely flexed and their upper body way too vertical. And then as they turn, they'll then start turning with everything far too much going through the golf ball. Their path will go on the outside. They will then swipe across it. So a lot of you golfers who say when you try to get more rotation, you slice it. That's one of the big reasons why. let's get into the drills. So for these drills and practice routine here, it consists of having a dry drill, so drill without the golf ball, and a drill with the golf ball. These are going to work on the totality of this spiraling movement. Every single point this is going to touch in a very simplistic way. Like I said, don't have to think about it. So first thing, towel drill. So you can see I've got a towel and I've taped it at the end and at the middle, so it becomes one big long tube. So what we do with this teaches that entirety of the spiraling movement. So what we do, we flip this to where it's on our back, just like so. Grip it kind of like a golf club. Get up to the top of your backswing with a big full turn, and then what we want to do, we want to go into the downswing, turn, and really all we want to think about is having this towel come off of our back through impact. So if we can do that, get this towel flying off our back through impact, we have to have that good spiraling movement to be able to do so. So getting this really flying off the back, boom. One more, flying off the back, going through the golf ball. Now we've moved in that good impact, because or that good spiraling move. If I have done this wrong, and I have started too much with the upper body and arms, or done any part of this sequencing wrong, this is going to hit the ground way too early and hit the ground, as you can see, it doesn't hit the ground at all when you do it properly. So let's say if I'm someone who rotates too hard too early with the chest, see, I'm going to hit the ground straight away. Let's say I'm someone who bumps and loses my tilt, I'm going to really graze the ground going through the golf ball. If I'm someone who doesn't extend the left side or get any right side bend, I'm going to hit it way after. But you can still see it hits the ground each time. I don't want to hit the ground, I want it to fly off my back going through the golf ball, boom. Doesn't hit it one bit, boom. And again, let's do another one. Awesome. So as you can see, brilliant drill to go and do. Just doing that and then going and hitting a bunch of balls afterwards, you're going to then have that feeling in your swing really nicely. It gives you that same feel whipping through the shot. So here we go, here's the drill with the golf ball. So this is one that you absolutely all have seen before, very common rotation drill. So where we have a stick in the ground, now the stick goes down the target line and behind us by really about half a foot. So you can see it's half a foot behind, but it's a good another stance width in front down the target. So why we have that there is because we want to hit it before we even get to impact. Now we've got this stick, if you're cool from mid part of the video where we're having this stick staying down and going around, it's exactly the same thing. We're just having a little kind of outcome we want out of it, and that is hitting the stick with the stick in the belt loops. So I want to hit that stick in the ground with the stick in the belt loops before I get to impact. I've got that great feel there with that. There we go. Now we'll be guaranteeing that we'll be having that nice spiraling move. So, okay, let's do another one. And we'll talk about practice structure. Boom, there we go. So just about hitting it before impact, really important. So really good one to go about and do. And how you would go and do this in a practice structure is you would do the towel drill. So the towel drill, I would want you to do about 5 of these before every 3 golf balls doing the drill with the sticks. So 5 of those, boom, and then you go and do 3 with that and go back to 5 of these again. If you can do that, I can guarantee you're going to get all these nice things we want to see in our golf swing. And absolutely, you might not all be getting as rotated as a Dustin Johnson. You might not even be getting really as rotated as a Luke Donald, for example. But on the 2 opposite sides of the spectrum of rotation, like those 2 golfers are, you will still be able to get this into your golf swing. Even if you're only opening yourself up a little bit, that's only a very small part of this, how open you can get. It's more about the sequencing of events in the downswing. You don't need to get that crazy rotation. Just having a little bit really helps. And if every golfer on the planet does this, I can guarantee they're going to get a lot better if they really commit to doing this for a long time. So if you enjoyed the video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction just like this. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video.